Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the trial and death of Socrates. Socrates, I think we can consider to be the first Greek philosopher. I think he's universally credited to be one of the founding fathers of Western philosophy. The way I like to remember it is Socrates taught Plato, Plato taught Aristotle, and Aristotle taught Alexander the Great. So Socrates actually didn't write down any of his teachings. The only source of information we have on him, his life, his way of thinking, comes from the dialogues of his students, including Plato. But even these dialogues are philosophical or dramatic in text, so there is no actual concrete history for Socrates. There's a lot we can talk about regarding Socrates and his teachings, but today I wanted to talk to you about his trial and death. I think it's a very interesting subject to think about and maybe learn something from. So when Socrates was around 70 years old, he was tried by the Athenians for failing to worship the correct gods and for corrupting the youth of Athens with new ideas and profound questions of philosophy. The trial was essentially a threat to Socrates to leave town. He knew it was coming and he knew that the penalty would be death. So Socrates began talking to his people and they began preparing a defense so he could be excused and not sentenced to death. But Socrates said no. He decided he wasn't going to set up a defense for himself. Now this wouldn't make any sense, any rational person would aim to preserve their life, especially when they know they can. So why didn't wise old Socrates decide to do so? There's actually a very strange and interesting reason behind it. He told one of his friends that he would always have a voice in his mind, kind of like a spirit that he would listen to. And that it never told him what to do, but it always told him what not to do. So if he was saying something and the voice in his head told him not to say it, he would stop what he was saying and he would say something else. He said when he was planning to escape from this trial, the voice told him not to, and he listened. His friends, his followers, his students, they all encouraged him to flee Athens, but he decided not to. He didn't want to go against his legal responsibilities. Socrates knew that he was very old and that he was on the doorstep of death anyways. He thought of this as perhaps an opportunity to say farewell to his people and to put his affairs in order. He chose willingly to die and took this opportunity to teach his final lesson to his people, that death is not to be feared but embraced as the elevation of the soul. At the trial, Socrates argued that he was a gift of God sent to the city to help improve the lives of the Athenians. And when they sentenced him to death, he told them that they would continue to live out their lives forever asleep, ignorant of their ignorance. At the trial, he even had the opportunity to choose exile instead of death, but he maintained his stance that he wasn't in the wrong. Socrates was a crazy guy. He even said to the judges that instead of being sentenced to death, he should be given free meals at their religious center. The judges were insulted and they sentenced him to death by something called hemlock. And when Socrates drank the hemlock, he supposedly did so courageously and unfazed. After drinking the poison, Socrates was instructed to walk on his feet until his legs felt numb. After he lay down, the man who administered the poison pinched his feet and Socrates could no longer feel his legs. The numbness slowly crept up until it reached his heart. The last words he spoke to his student Crito were, "We owe a rooster to Asclepio. Pay it without fail." Now the interesting thing here is Asclepio is the Greek god of healing. When an Athenian was cured of a disease, they would offer a rooster in sacrifice to Asclepio. But Socrates wasn't sick, he was going to die, so why did he want to offer a rooster in sacrifice to Asclepio? Well, to Socrates, being alive was in some sense a form of sickness, and only in death were we truly ever cured from the sickness of life. Socrates stated that all philosophy is training for death. Yeah, so very interesting story about the trial of Socrates. I think there's a lot of wisdom we can extract from the story. I think it's worth thinking about the story and wondering how we can apply the wisdom in our own lives. Anyways, hopefully I explained the story properly. I might have gotten some things wrong, I'm not too sure. But I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you again in the next one.